Um, this is really helpful. Thank you, panelists and to the folks, everybody joining here today. Just want to say a couple of words about leading from where you are. This is sort of a natural segue. So, most of you are, I would dare say, every single one of you are in a position where you have to figure out how to lead from positions of constraint. You have to lead with influence, not authority. You have to lead amid all kinds of challenges. Some of them are common across institutions, as you've talked about here, and some of them are unique to you and the challenges that you have at your institution. And so I wanted to just share a couple of thoughts, and there'll be a through line across the supports here, primarily in coaching, but also in these collaborative and collective workshops and learning and sharing sessions to think about what it means to sort of upskill and change leadership and really think about what it means to lead from where you are. So just want to ask you to take a second to think about, we've talked a little bit, and I bet I could put it together based on your comments, what's going to be hardest about this work. But also take a minute to think about what gives you hope in the work. And, feel free to speak it silently into your heart or put it in the chat, however you want to go at it. But as you think about both what brings you here and what gives you hope amid what's going to be very challenging, take a minute to reflect on that. And then I'm going to just share a couple of thoughts here. These are like first principles as we think about, how the SOVA team is orienting ourselves to this work, working on the ground with dozens and dozens of institutions in more than half the states in the country, including longstanding work in Michigan, and a real understanding of how Michigan is quite unique in many ways, being radically decentralized. Also recognizing and being grateful for all of the private and independent colleges that are joining us here today that often don't have the same access to opportunities, statewide opportunities as others. So just want to acknowledge that this is a very cool group of institutions that are here today. Okay, so if you could click us forward one, thank you. All right, so just a few things to keep in mind. And, I just want to connect the dots back to to the panel and to the conversation around urgency and needing to accelerate the pace and improve the quality of student-focused change in order to better meet the needs of your adult learners and also to make the most of the array of supports that you have available to you through this design lab. So, a couple of things to keep in mind. Leading through influence it entails different skills than leading through authority. And higher education is a realm of influence. It is not a realm, even for CEOs with a very strong vision, presidents who say, come go with me, or boards who make demands. It is still the case that academic and faculty culture and academic culture in general is such that developing the skills that allow you to lead through influence are keys to accelerating progress, right? And whether that is internally or it's externally, again, with business partners and with others, right? Bruce said this before, but connecting the dots, helping people see themselves and their interests in the work. It's a balancing act. You need to center students. You need to center, in this case, adult learners and how they are or are not being effectively served by your institution, but the people that you need to bring along. And I could not agree more with what Ryan said about, yes, faculty are central, but this kind of work, any really truly meaningful, impactful, systemic work that will improve outcomes for your learners and for adult learners touches on all aspects of your institution, right? And so helping people connect the dots from wherever you are and see themselves in the work is a critical piece of this puzzle. Again, these are going to be some of the things that in the coaching we'll be like thinking about how to work with you in building your capacities on this stuff. Grounding in purpose and data is essential. Bruce said it, others said it, your big why, right? And what is your data telling you about the sort of urgent challenges facing your institution? Transparency in that is essential, but also keeping in mind that empathy and leading with empathy from wherever you are is also an essential piece of this puzzle because it is very scary work. Big, real change is hard, scary work, right? Which brings me to the next point, and probably the most important one of them all when it comes to leading complex change. People do not fear change, they fear loss. And so understanding what it is that your key stakeholders that you need to bring along, that you need to bring to the table as your core team, that you need to widen the circle of champions for this work. What are the sources of fear? What are the things that they are afraid of losing? What are the real things that will be lost? Actually, there is, this piece about making space for working through is about candidly and compassionately working through some of those real, both perceptions of loss and possibly the reality of loss. So I'm a former faculty member in the social sciences and humanities, and my discipline made promises to me about what my life would be like as a faculty member and in academics that actually can't be made good on except at the expense of students. That is that is a hard thing to realize. It is also a hard thing to realize that as we learn about and iterate and improve, that some of the things that we have been doing forever, that we are steeped in, grounded in, committed to, are not the right things for our students. They're not the right things for our communities. They're not the right things for our missions, right? So really understanding and grounding yourselves in an understanding of what it is that people fear when we talk about people fearing change is a really critical piece of this puzzle. And it sort of loops back to the key of around empathy and the importance of showing empathy while you are being transparent, while you are being clear, while you are being grounded in purpose and what you must do for your students, right? Again, working through hard trade-offs, not being afraid. I love Christine's point earlier about bringing in the dissenters, bringing in, and Bruce's point about, we know the research says things are better when you have diverse perspectives challenging each other, right? But understanding the guardrails within which you're going to have conversations, right? So 15 years ago, it was reasonable, acceptable anyway, for people, even at community colleges, to say, well, not all of our students belong here, right? And I remember the moment when that conversation, it was a period of time, but I remember when that conversation changed. And I remember the first college president that I heard say, we are done having that conversation. We have a responsibility to meet the needs of our students, whether we think that they are ready for us or not, we need to be ready for them. So we are done having the conversation about who belongs here, and we are now having this conversation. And it was a watershed moment that now it is, if any of those conversations are still circulating at your institution, which they do, continue to persist, right? In a lot of places, it is now much easier to move past conversations, but to do that, you actually have to give people the space to work through, to get in, to really grapple with the realities, right? And then this thing about heroism, it's a little bit of a hokey kind of acronym, but it is useful. It sounds soft and wishy-washy and touchy-feely, but it actually is when we look at how hard it is to help people retain their own sense of purpose and hope and resilience in the face of, all of the pressures that you're facing in the rushing rivers of your day-to-day lives, having hope that what you're doing will have the impact that you want it to have for your students, believing that you are capable as an institution and as individuals in your work of impacting and creating positive change, promoting resilience for yourself. We talk a lot about resilience and grit for students and not nearly enough for faculty, staff, and administrators. We have to develop grittier, more resilient ways of navigating the barriers that we have to power through, right, in this work. And then optimism. I'm a John Dewey fan and scholar of the past, and this idea that optimism is not a soft idea. It is actually a hard-nosed, cold comfort kind of idea. You have to believe that you can be successful in this work and help other people see themselves in it. You don't need to be this. It's wonderful if you have a president or a provost who speaks like that, who thinks like that, who uses data transparently and brings people along. But most of you cannot count on leaders to pave the way or smooth the course. You're going to have to figure out how to build those skills in yourself or build that sense of heroism in yourself and for others from wherever you are, right? Last piece here, which is going to sound redundant based on everything else I've said, is that prioritizing the human side of change alongside the technical work to be done is essential. And emotional intelligence skills and capacities can be built just like muscles. And in fact, it's very satisfying to practice and to see the rewards of improvements in EQ, but it is an essential piece of the puzzle when you are trying to navigate the need to create urgency with the need to meet people where they are, right? So these are some of the things that we want to help you keep in mind and then give you some very practical support around. So the next slide, please, is just a very quick, just to help you know and think about, and then for yourselves, jot some notes so that when you're meeting with your coaches, when you're meeting with your coach, you're getting what you need as you need it. We are thinking about, and we're really grateful to the center folks here, to Jeremy and Matt and Michelle and the team for creating this kind of environment where you get opportunities to learn and work together and to be in community with each other, and you get dedicated, tailored support for yourselves, right? So we really want to think about the coaching as building your capacity to lead change from wherever you are, regardless of your constraints. I will also tell you that there is nothing our team hasn't seen. There is no mess there's no dysfunction. There is nothing that our team hasn't seen before. And so however you think about your challenges or the unknowns, we are there for you in a non-judgmental fashion because we know that this is the hardest work that can be done. So we're going to use the coaching role in the process to build your capacity to lead from wherever you are and to be a supporter alongside you to strengthen your own heroism. So you have our commitments to meet you where you are. And we're going to begin with the end in mind. What is it that you want to achieve, right? Where do you want to be in 2 years? And what does that mean for where you are now and what you need to be doing next, right? Taking realistic stock of your assets and your challenges, right? So instead of just saying, all right, are you ready or not? Let's take realistic stock of where you are and help you accelerate from where you are. We're going to help you set goals, measurable goals, and we're going to help by tailoring support that really does help you attend to the human side of change. You have tremendous expertise in the form of CBEN and Kale available to you on the technical pieces, and they also know a whole lot about the human side of change. And so we're going to, depending on your needs, and we always start, for those of you who know us from the last design lab or other work we've done, we always start with, okay, do you like high touch, low touch, media? Like, what do you need? How, like, are you super capacity constrained and you need us to be your project manager for this, where we're taking notes and meetings or do you want us to be a kind of guide on the side, a critical friend? Or do you need us to go and find you the stuff you need, right? The technical assistance, the particular support you need, which we kind of call or think about as a concierge service, right? Like, what are the things? So we're going to be listening to you closely and working closely with you to give you what you need as you need it. We are going to be focusing on, at each step of the way, strengthening your will building strategies and communication efforts internally for your team and more broadly. For some of you, that may be about external partner or employer engagement. Some of it may be about how do we listen well to students. Some of it may be how do we widen the circle of champions for this work so that it has the durability that we need it to have for it to have the impacts on outcomes for students. And then again, helping you make the most of available technical assistance and subject matter experts to lead change from where you are. There's a huge wealth of expertise across the partnering organizations here, and we want to help you access that in a way that feels right for you and that acknowledges your tremendously busy lives. So you've got our commitment to helping you lead change from where you are, and we'll have a through line in these meetings around that, but a lot of that work is going to happen individually with your coaches as well. And we are so honored to be with you in this. So thanks.
Thank you, Allison. So in the vein of understanding how learners operate, and that we've been going well over an hour now, and we've been talking a lot at you. We wanted to make sure that we open it up for the opportunity for any reflection, what's resonated about this conversation with you all, what questions do you still have? What concerns? Certainly share, whatever you're thinking or, sort of where you're at in the process. Also, I might have Kaylee, do you want to drop the link in there? We also have an evaluation link. We'll give you all a good amount of time during this session. Please give us feedback. That helps us to understand what we're doing well in these and what you still need or where you're focusing on, things along those sorts. So please feel free to take our additional time as we talk through reflections and questions to fill out the link and I'll open it up to others. And that could be anybody on here, Jeremy, Michelle, anybody that wants to talk through this, but I'm curious to hear how this resonates, right?
I can start off by just saying, I often look at the work of adult learning as like a project to be managed. And I'm like, we gotta go faster. We gotta figure this out. Why is no one responding? Why can't we move the needle? And it's great to hear you, Allison, be like, don't forget the humans and don't forget the empathy and the needing to galvanize, and the culture building work that is so hard and takes a lot longer than those of us in the operations sphere would like it to take. So I just very much appreciate the perspective you brought to that. So thank you.
We both referred to students as cogs that were to be made money off of, as well as humans that need to be a part of this. And it depends on what facet of the university you're really, I think, kind of looking at and focusing from. So. Other reflections? Other folks that would like to?
While people are thinking, I just want to say, Abby, don't lose that urgency and that impatience, right? There are a lot of tactics that we share and that we ourselves use every single day to manage ourselves in those moments where it's like, I just want to wring your neck, just and how do you protect your own hope, your own sense of possibility, especially if the pace is not moving at what you need it to and people are not attending to these things in the way that they should. It's really easy when you're in those moments of frustration to say it, make a misstep and add to the debt, essentially, the kind of relational debt that needs to be paid in order to make the work move forward. So it's a tricky balancing act to hold on to your urgency and then to help meet people where they are with empathy. It is very, very difficult work.
I just want to follow up on something you said, Allison, when you talk about making the occasional misstep, which certainly can and will happen. One of the most impactful things that we had happen when I was at the institution implementing guided pathways, we had a relatively new person who came from a data background, and she came in kind of a little like a bull in a china shop, and like, we have to do this, we have to do this, these are what the numbers are telling us if we don't change this, blah blah blah. Many of us left that meeting feeling a little disheartened. She came back in the following meeting and actually took a moment to apologize, and that really helped to build the trust, and the recognition that when you're passionate about something, sometimes your heart may move a little faster than your mind, and taking the moment to acknowledge when missteps do happen, and recognize that the purpose is still the same. We're really trying to make sure that the students are well served.
I'm going to channel my inner Jeremy and just say we
To
can.
say, I don't know if there's any other reflections that folks want to share, but we did. If you were in our first design lab, you'll notice we spent a lot today talking about more on the change management side and how to approach the work. And fear not, when we get to April, you'll be diving into the hard content on CPL, CBE. Those opportunities will be there. But one of our learnings, as I said from the outset, from our first design lab is, if we really want to make sure, help you get this work done on your campus, this is a component that needs to be mindful throughout the whole process. And hopefully, we get folks thinking about it early on this time around and make sure to take advantage of the resources you have here. I've heard, the war stories from Christine and Allison and the whole ESG and SOVA teams of the work that they've done in other places. I can assure you, not that I'm an expert on every institution in the state of Michigan, but compared to what they've been through, they have truly seen it all and can help guide you both with what they've seen work well and help you avoid pitfalls of things that went horribly wrong in other places. And so as you're kind of thinking about where to go next when we meet in April and start diving into some of the heart of the projects you want to work on, whether it's the micro-credentialing or CBE work or, expanding your CPL offerings, et cetera, that you kind of shared on the Miro board at the beginning, continue to keep these things in mind on this change management process and all the things we need to consider. And I know it seems overwhelming, but you've got a wonderful set of resources here. We were fortunate enough to bring from across the nation to help support each of your institutions in navigating this process. And feel free to lean on them. Feel free to lean on us too at the center. I realize I regularly keep talking about everybody else we brought to the table, but the center was created by the state to be a resource for all of you on this call and every institution of higher education in the state. And, as we're working through this, we're happy to help have those conversations on how to navigate from our experience as well. And, Matt and Michelle have strong higher ed backgrounds. I have a really strong people interaction background and bringing folks together with very divergent views. So especially if you're navigating that change management, trying to bring some of the cave folks, as Christine has referenced them, together and how to engage, happy to help on that. So, make sure to feel free to utilize the resources you have here. So yes, Matt, that is. Right. So, anyway, we're, happy to help on this, and we're excited to have you all here. We're excited to partner with you and support the work that you want to do in advancing the work on your campuses to better serve adult learners through curricular reform, whatever that may look like. So
I also know we've thrown a lot at you all today, and even though it's been mostly talking and kind of setting things up, and I know it feels like, but we wanted, one of the reflections and feedback that we had from the original design lab was we really had to hit the ground running, and that was because we had such a rush timeline. We want to take the opportunity for you to take this first session, think about it reflectively, internally, or with your teammates, thinking through some of these things. You do not have to have the answers now, or between now and April for that matter. But starting to think through these things, right? Kind of doing your own personal SWOT analysis of your institution and thinking through, okay, so what are the things we need to be sort of gearing up for? And then when we get into April and our first in-person convening, we'll really hit the ground running with the content and materials and seeing how that fits into what your plans are and what you want to do from there.
I'd like to add one more suggestion as we're heading into, I can't believe it, I'm happy about it, heading into summer, but it's a great time for faculty development and then planning for the coming academic year. And when there are those opportunities where faculty already gather and they're already engaging in some kind of development activity, think about how this conversation can carry into that space. And we're happy to help you with that at the center. We want to come to you when we're able. So let us know when those opportunities are available to come visit with you and share this information to a broader audience on your campus.
Yeah. +1 to the summer. I saw Steve in short sleeves. I think Steve should be our new Phil.
Yeah, and outside too.
Phil.
Yeah.
It's above 40 in the UP today, so that's short weather. At least for my time living up there, that was the rule of thumb.
So as we're talking about the schedule, I think, Jeremy, you want to take us through the sort of remainder of, yes, we have our evaluation also. Please fill it out if you've not got a chance, or sort of kind of bookmark it. We can talk through what the rest of this process will look like, our next convenings, and so on and so forth. Jeremy, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. So as we move forward, like you said, appreciate everybody's participation today. We're going to be curating the responses today, as well as the remaining applications that I know are coming in, to really make sure that as we're building the agendas out for our upcoming meetings in April, May, and June, that we're hitting the topics and the content that you are looking for. So, this is one of the fun parts of the work, but also challenging, as our team was lamenting earlier, because we gotta try and put together a really robust docket to make sure that we're meeting your needs, but we weren't even sure what they all were. Still aren't until we get the last of the applications here. So we'll get that put together with some really great programming and agendas for the upcoming convenings. April 9th and 10th will be at Aquinas. May 13th will be another virtual. June will be in Traverse City. These are the ones on the upcoming calendar. As we noted, we look into the post-June schedule. We're looking at potentially some smaller cohorts and some additional convenings. So we'll keep folks posted as things evolve for later in the year opportunities. But these are the next 3 that are on deck. If you have issues making it, I know some folks did. Keep us posted, and we'll work with you on the best way to connect you with the resources that folks may miss from those convenings. Of course, as much material as possible will be posted on our website for resources as well, including this shortly after, probably like tomorrow or the next day. We'll get it up on the website. So, got the rough list of topics, and I just want to reiterate too, while we'll be diving into the meat of credit for prior learning, competency-based education, those components of change management, things like faculty engagement, things along those lines will always also be components of the sessions that we're providing. So, was pointed out, I think Allison mentioned it, everybody on this call has mentioned it more than once, but that you can't forget that human component to change. And when you're doing curricular change, that is significant. And addressing how to handle that human element is every bit as valuable and as important as the more detailed technical side of the plan. I've seen some of the best plans in the world on paper fail miserably because that human element was just not considered, and figuring out how to engage the right stakeholders was not done. And it may have been something that should have turned out wonderful, but because some of those human engagement steps were not taken, it failed miserably. And then folks think, oh, well, this whole thing's junk. Well, no, just bad implementation doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad idea. We just got to make sure we do it better. So our goal is to make sure you're well armed so you don't run into that. So not only will you have a great technical plan on how to implement something, but you'll also have the resources and support on how to actually get it done. One of my notes, a lot of folks have heard me say it repeatedly. When I first started at the center, it was not hard to find reports and articles, et cetera, on what works out there and improves stuff, but it's next to impossible to figure out how anybody actually did it, because they never talk about that. Our goal here is to, with the expertise of the folks who have been doing this for so long, is to bring that how to you so you can learn on how to do this in a way that will be successful on your campus. So next slide, Christine. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, next step. So complete the evaluation if you haven't already. Keep an eye out in your email inbox for outreaches from your SOVA coach and Kale folks. And then, as we mentioned, hold the 9th and 10th for our first in-person convening at Aquinas, and more details coming soon on that. All right, I think that's about it, right?
We have just one more plug for the services
Oh.
that we can provide for grant proposal preparation. And this is mostly for our public institutions, but there is one that's upcoming. It's not listed here, called the Reconnect Community Action Grant, that is available to independent institutions if you partner with a public community college. So that's something, if you're interested in that, we can talk about. But the most immediate deadlines right now, May 23rd, is for the college success grants. There's only 2.3 million available in the pool of funds, but you can apply for up to $1 million over 3 years in the college success grant area. And then barrier removal, growing institutional capacity, which is more about helping serve students' basic needs. That deadline is June 20th. But many of your institutions are still eligible to apply for these grants, and we are equipped to help you with that. If you're a university, we will work with you directly. If you're a community college, we'll refer you over to MCCA, but we can provide advice as well. But the link in the chat has a guidebook, and then I'm happy to meet with you anytime to talk about your goals for what you'd like to do with that grant funding that's available.
Yep. And I'll just add on to that too, is, since you're participating in this, if there's things that our coaches can help you with, and we have one institution that's participating, returning MyLearn member that wants to target one of those May grants, I think it is, that will be tapping our coaches to assist them in that application as well. So we are a resource. The state actually has us on, has asked us to provide support to the public universities on this. And like I said, we can help connect you to resources for the community colleges as well. So if you're looking to pursue any of those state grants and want some assistance from the broader MyLearn team or just the center, please feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to help.
Jeremy, thanks for bringing that up. This is Ed Sunick from Delta College. Can you expand a little bit on the resources? Because does this include writing, or is it left up to the institutions?
Michelle, take it away. This one's your program. So
yeah, for MCCA does provide services to the community colleges. They've created a full resource guide on doing your own writing, but I know Erica Oriens is also providing individual consultations to institutions. But as part of Design Lab, you can also work with us, and we can connect you to your SOVA coach that can provide some assistance with that as well.
And the SOVA team has, let's see, out of my raise, we had one institution out of my raise that took us up on grant writing, and they were very successful, as I recall. So the SOVA team helped assist composing that application. So
they were successful in a Go Big. They were successful in $1 million grant. So to be specific.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
For what it's worth, in the rest of the MyRaise cohort, for those that weren't aware, most of them got innovation investment awards from us. So I think there was only 3 that did not, if I remember correctly, that applied for, and then one of the institutions took us up to help them get us a student success grant. And so, and like I said, they hit the full award there.
I think expanding on Design Lab and what is possibility for really down the road as you're getting into your projects, we are looking for cohorts from within this group that we could take to private funders and explain this would be a great pilot to work on, look at these 3 institutions and what they want to do with these advancements, and here are the resources we'd need to make that happen fully and to be able to measure the impact, so that we're trying to position you to have advantages for private funding as well.
Well said. Any other questions before we call it a day? With 3 minutes to go, so appreciate everybody sticking with us for the duration. All right. Well, if not, I want to thank you all again. I'm looking forward to working with you more and seeing and meeting many of you in person here coming up in a few weeks. So keep the April 9th and 10th dates on hold. More information will be coming soon. If you have any questions between now and then, as I always tell people, do not suffer in silence. Reach out, hit us up. We are available. We are here to work for you. So let us know how we can help. Thank you all and have a great rest of your week.